how effective do you assess the Israeli military's daily tactical pause in Al-Mawasi, Deir al-Balah and Gaza City in facilitating humanitarian aid delivery and alleviating civilian suffering?
In fact, this procedure came due to the U.S. pressures on the Benjamin Netanyahu government, and after the U.S. became unable to force Israel to stop before the international community, there has been protests and pressures carried out by the international community to push Israel to facilitate an unrestricted aid flow into Gaza. Now talking about tactical pauses to enter humanitarian aid. And apparently there is now a conviction at the U.S. administration and the Benjamin Netanyahu government, and that this is the way to manage the conflict in Gaza, and this way is not going to lead to the release of the detainees, and this might actually expose Israel to some sanctions by the European Union states. That's why they are now allowing some humanitarian aid into Gaza.
Israeli MP Ram bin Barak warned that Israel risks becoming a global state. How do you interpret this critique in the context of Israel's current policies and international standings?
Of course, there is a growing sentiment for the Israeli leaders that there is an international trend criticizing Israel and its policies, especially targeting civilians and using the weapon of starvation as a war weapon in the Gaza Strip. And therefore, this new strategy adopted and this decision made by Netanyahu and the occupying army with the recommendation of the political system inside Israel to alleviate the international pressures carried out by France, Britain and Germany with their responses and demands to Israel to allow an unrestricted flow of aid into Gaza.
In what ways, sir, could increased international recognition of Palestinian statehood affect the prospects for peace and stability in the region?
These recognitions indicate that the Israeli government shall adopt a different approach in handling the Palestinian cause, and that the military solution will never be the answer. There must be a political path towards withdrawing from the Palestinian territories on the borders of 1967, and that's why there is a General Assembly meeting backed by France and Saudi Arabia to launch a political path to recognize the Palestinian state.
Sir, is it safe to assume that the current humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza can be attributed to the flawed aid distribution mechanism run by Israel and so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation?
The main problem lies in the blockade, the siege, and using the starvation as a weapon. The GHF is a foundation to kill innocent, starved Palestinians at distribution points. We see tens of martyrs every day at the aid points known as GHF, and which is in charge of distributing the aid in Gaza. The blockade must be lifted and humanitarian aid must be provided in the last manners by international organizations.